Whew. Sam, that's my name. Been with Moby 2 years now. This is my first job since I moved to Canada. I have been in IT my entire career. Done software development, project management, done infrastructure, consulting. When I came to Canada, being able to be a part of a team that was building something different. Because when I came here, I'm like, just two telcos? It's crazy. Where I'm from, we got like 20. It was just exciting to be a part of a team that was doing something different and challenging the status quo. So it's been awesome. Projects are usually initiated two different ways, depending on the type of project. Could be a residential building or a commercial building, depending on how we want to approach it. Usually starts with sales. They sign the contracts. They get the contract sent over to us at the projects team. And it's our job to engage all the stakeholders involved, from the property management team, when I'm in team now on the customer side, to the customer themselves, to our internal teams, NOC, finance, whoever. It's just about bringing everybody to the table to determine how best we're going to service that customer. So obviously a site survey done. We go to wherever the site is, determine what needs to be done in order for us to bring our services to that building. And once we figured that piece out from the survey, we now come back with all that information and start to do the design. That's where NOC comes in. That's where the design team comes in terms of, is it going to be wireless? Is it going to be underground fiber? Is it going to be however, right? There's so many different ways we service customers today. And the beauty of Moby is we're not restricted to doing it in a certain way. Figure out what the best way is, the most optimal way is to service that location, that customer. So basically once that design phase is done, then the hard work starts. We have a wonderful team of field techs that we engage to do that hard bit, which is pulling the cables, getting that underground fiber into the building, installing our infrastructure in the rise rooms. They do that bit, and we have to ensure, because we're usually coming into an existing environment, we want to make sure that our infrastructure fits in seamlessly. We want to make sure that the experience for the customer is seamless. So we're not pulling cables to all the units. They already have those cables existing. Why do I need to repull the same type of cables and not reuse what they have existing, right? So we make sure that the infrastructure we put in kind of blends into what the customer already have. So if they already have coax, for example, we'll make use of your coax. If you have Ethernet, we'll make use of your Ethernet. If you have fiber, awesome, we'll make use of your fiber, right? So that kind of, determines how we get it done. So once we get the hard part done, which is wiring the building, getting on the Moby network, we essentially say the building is Mobified. Commercial, residential, whatever it is, that's in a simple way, that's how we get our services to the building. I look at it from where I stand, it depends on the building type. So the building type essentially determines the approach to the building. A residential can be a high-rise. Commercial could be a high-rise. Commercial could be a one-unit building. It doesn't really matter the type of customer in the building, residential or commercial. What matters is the type of building. So that is what determines the way I approach the infrastructure we install in the building. The thing about projects, and it's in the definition of projects, is every project is unique, right? There's no standard timeline. It all depends on the peculiarity of that project. But that being said, most of our projects are very short term, from start to finish. Start being when we receive the contracts to go live. Typical period is 30 days. Again, there's no standards. I've had projects done in 2 days before. I've had projects take 6 months. So it really depends on the complexity involved. That's what determines the timelines. But the important thing is, along the way, you're carrying on all the stakeholders involved, be it the customer and your internal stakeholders, making sure that everyone is informed and aware of what's going on, so there's no gaps created, right? We're all on the same page, everybody's happy. I believe we have perfected the art of installation, be it in Edmonton, Calgary. Recently, we have expanded to areas where they need our TV services like Nova Scotia and Yukon. So all those fancy places, but to us, it doesn't really matter. We have a seasoned team that knows the right levers to pull. We have resources all over Canada that we can leverage to carry out our installations. And so for us, it doesn't really matter. It's just about understanding what needs to be done and getting it done. Absolutely. Like I mentioned, every project is unique. So what the expectations are from the customer determines how we approach that project. So if a customer wants internet and TV, for example, it means I have to figure out how we're going to get Moby internet to that location and then use our internet to, feed the TV service. But if a customer comes and says, oh, I just need TV. We only do this for certain types of customers. But if a customer approaches us and say they only want TV, we can leverage their existing internet service to provide that service, that TV service to them without necessarily bringing the Moby internet to them. So as you would imagine, that would take a shorter time than a customer that wants us to provide internet for them and TV. So it just depends on what customers' needs. No, the speed, we still have to bring our infrastructure into the building. So if the customer wants 100 Mbps, for example, I need to be able to not only cater for that customer, I have to think about the future. So he wants 100 Mbps today, doesn't mean that's what he'll need tomorrow. So the infrastructure I'm putting in that building has to be able to support, I believe the standard today is about 1 gig. So at least, even if it's a single unit, if it's a multi-unit, at least I have to deliver 1 gig to that location. Now I'm gonna give that customer 100 Mbps. But if he comes to me tomorrow and say, hey, I need 1 gig, I have the infrastructure to support that. So that, for me, there's no difference. But of course, the customer experience is different, 100 Mbps to 1 gig. Yeah. Customer involvement starts from the beginning of the project, really. As soon as we get the contract, 24 hours to reach out to the customer, set up a site check or set up a kickoff meeting, something like that, just to get things going. Even though the sales team has discussed the requirements, it's our job to validate those requirements. So we talk to the customer, understand their needs better. Sometimes a customer just tells the sales guy, I want 1 gig. And by the time you discuss with the customer, you'll find out that he needs 1 gig, he needs a static IP, he needs 5 access points, so that requirement kind of expands, right? So it's our job to involve the customer from the jump, validate those requirements, and then talk through how we're going to deliver it. So we send them, after the kickoff, after a survey, we send them a scope of work detailing how we're going to be bringing our services to the building, the points where we need access to, So it's not a shock to them when we come in and we're like, oh, we need to be in that room, we need to be in that room. They're not surprised because they already knew and approved what we need to do in the building before we proceed. So they're involved in the entire process from the start. And as soon as we're done with the project, we send them an as-built document. An as-built document is simply a document that details exactly what was done. So we may have planned to use 5 switches, but we started the project and conversations happened between us and the customer, and we discovered they needed 10. So that information is contained in the as-built. Yes, we do the whole change management thing, but the as-built tells you exactly what's existing. So if you ever need to refer to that in the future, the customer is able to refer to that and say, oh, hey, I know, this is Moby stuff. So that's kind of how we make sure they're engaged from start to finish. Absolutely. Last year, Silvera came to us to deliver their entire portfolio in Calgary, to deliver internet, TV services, Wi-Fi, in all their facilities in Calgary. And it was a lot, especially because before then, we did a lot of MDUs. MDUs are high rises and things like that, but not all Silvera buildings were shaped like that. We had townhomes, we had buildings with pods. So we had to really think of unique ways to service all these different locations, but it was a lot, but we were able to get it get it done in good time. Customer was really happy with the experience in terms of communication, in terms of the service delivery, the fact that they could pick up the phone and actually reach a human being on the other side was something that was exciting for them. And honestly, I had fun just thinking through all those different problems and having to come up with unique, solutions. And just speaking about projects in general at Moby, that's honestly what keeps me excited, is the fact that, and I know this isn't for everyone, but the fact that I come to work tomorrow, I'm not really sure what to expect in terms of the kind of projects I'm gonna get. It might be the simple basic stuff, and it might be something I need to sit down for 2 hours with the team to kind of figure out, but whatever it is, it's amazing having a team to be able to come together and figure that out and deliver service to customer and make them happy.